Greetings ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. I will be your host, Thrones, bringing a role-playing build known as the Ashlander. The Ashlander in a nutshell is a role-playing build intended specifically for a niche casual playstyle questing around and a all-around normal content. It is in no way made for veteran content, and it is not made for min-maxing, nor is it made for any type of difficult content or veteran dungeons. However, you can min-max it out for your own taste. However, this build is specifically made for questing in mind and normal content. The build revolves around being as the name implies, Ashlander or Velothi, who are a nomadic tribe of Dunmer found in the most inhospitable lands in Morrowind, generally the wastes of Vvardenfell. We are all about utilizing gear sets, giving us a aesthetic of the Red Mountain, lava and fire. The Ashlander can't be any other race than a Dark Elf. That would literally break the whole name and the whole theme. However, for a class you can go whatever the heck you want. However, I also highly recommend the Dragonknight because of the skill reflecting on the lava, fire theme, the sandstorms, the ash and the aesthetics in general. I will be showing you my iteration, which is the Dragonknight Dark Elf. The Ashlanders are Dunmeri nomads that traditionally hail from the Morrowind wilderness. In the Merethic era, Ashlanders and the other Dunmeri were very much alike and on equal footing, but since the days of the First Council and the rise of the Great Houses, they have steadily been forced into the poorest and most hostile lands. They travel along with their heads, camping wherever it is suitable. Additional resources gained by hunting the local wildlife are used to manufacture huts, armors, clothing, and general household items. Ashlander culture is the remains of the ancestor worshipping tribal culture which the House Dunmeri left behind. Unlike the settled Dunmer of the Great Houses, they did not acknowledge the power of the Tribunal. Rather, they believed the Tribunal betrayed Lord Nerevar at the Battle of the Red Mountain, and they were kept alive by magical means not unlike necromancy. Our character is or was once part of such a tribe in the wasteland of Vvardenfell. He went hunting at one time, and upon returning did he only see ruins and pale drained corpses where his tribe used to thrive. Upon inspecting the corpses, he noticed the lack of blood and their pale skin. He came to the conclusion that it was vampires. Without any hesitation, he took it upon himself to keep his tribe's name alive and seek revenge against the vampires, and if given the opportunity, Moloch Bal himself. And now, for the build. Alright, for our character, we are using a Dark Elf, and a Dark Elf is a must for this type of build because Ashlanders are basically exclusively Dark Elves, so no alternative there. We are a Dragonknight. You can go whatever class you want, however I will be going with a Dragonknight because it has a couple of abilities which has lava and fire and stuff around it, so yeah. I went full stamina on this build because I wanted to go more of a warrior style rather than a magicka. However, you can go a magicka build just as well. We have quite a bit of spell critical, a little bit of spell damage here and there, nothing too grand. We have quite a bit of weapon critical and weapon damage as well, which is our main focus. The spell critical and spell damage can get nice in this build because there's one or two abilities which use magicka, so this will go nice. We went with the Thief Stone, however you can go whatever stone you want. If you want the Lord Stone, go with the Lord Stone. If you want to go with the Mage Stone, go Mage Stone. Go wild. For our buff food, I'm using Dubious Comorian Throne just because I'm too used to using this buff food. However, go whatever the heck you want. If you just want health, go health. If you want to go stamina, go stamina. Go wild, mate. I'm using the title of Dragonstar Arena Champion because, spoilers alert, the dungeon's all about Boethia, so yeah. Dark Elves, Ashlanders, Boethia, yeah. For skills, we went a little bit wild here. I'm using Blood Craze for a little bit of that healing and the damage over time. I went with Stone Giant for my main spammable because it spawns those 3 rocks around you. I personally think it fits the aesthetics quite well. I really like the 3 glows. However, if you want to go min-maxing out, you want a different setup than this, because this setup is mostly focused for a casual experience and nothing too grand. Maybe you want Searing Strike with Noxious Breath, combined with Flames of Oblivion. Violet Armor is an optional thing, if you want to go min-maxing, that is. You would want probably for a spammable to use Hidden Blade, for the bow you want Poison Arrow, Endless Hail, and etc, etc. However, this is a role-playing build for questing around normal content, which can technically go into veteran non-DLC dungeons. However, it is not recommended as it is not optimized for that type of content. For the third skill, we went with Noxious Breath. The reason why we went with Noxious Breath is because I think the Noxious Breath goes well with the volcanic theme, because there's a lot of those gases coming from the volcano, and we can kinda imitate that with the breath itself. I went with Deadly Cloak on this one because we're using a dual wield. However, if you don't like it, don't use it, just go whatever the heck you want. I went with Flames of Oblivion here. It is a nice slottable, gives us a little bit of spell and weapon critical rating, also launches a fireball at enemies, looks nice when it floats around you with all the stone giant balls as well. For the ultimate, I went with the same ultimate on both bar, which is Corrosive Armor. There is literally no reason for me to use this except that it makes you glow and green and poisons people. However, if you don't like the poison aspect, I highly recommend going with the other morph, which deals fire damage, I think, or it doesn't deal any damage at all. But I think it was fire damage, and it gives shields to your allies. I can't remember, I apologize for that. Or you can also slot on, I think, the dual wielding ultimate if you prefer. Go maybe, I don't know, Fighter's Guild I don't recommend because that's Meridia. Meteor, I don't know really, I can't think of any alternatives. You can maybe go with Warhorn, I guess, but yeah. I don't recommend going with Dragon Leap or Draconic because I kinda try to avoid those dragon looking abilities, because we are trying to go with the Ashlander aesthetics rather than a dragon aesthetic. And the reason why we don't want Dragonknight, I mean, if you want to, go for it, but my character isn't affiliated with any alliance, so going with a standard of the Ebonheart Pact, that where Almalexia is technically part of that pact, our character kinda doesn't like Almalexia, you know? Yeah. For the back bar, we went Poison Injection for a DOT. Our character is a hunter when it comes to the bow, so going with that is very nice. We went with the Eruption. It's the only skill which is, let's say, our main skill of this character. It summons a cloud of ash around the place, so it fits really nicely. If you want to go with pure bow skills and dual wielding skills, this is the only one I can recommend to mandatory. Put it there, maybe, I don't know, instead of flurry, go with the skill, and everything else you can go weapon abilities if you want to go that route. For the third ability, it's Endless Hail. It has the same meter range as our Eruption, so we combine those two to do a little bit of damage over time, plus it looks a little bit badass for our Ashlander. The fourth ability I went with Molten Armaments, makes our weapons glow with the lava, and it gives us more damage with heavy attacks, which is 50%. Heavy attacks on this build are actually quite viable, we'll get to the proc sets in a second. And it gives us also Major Brutality and Major Sorcery, increasing our damage done, and whether with spell or weapon damage by 20% for quite a bit of time. And the last skill is Violate Armor, Volatile, sorry, I always call it Violet, yeah. It gives us resistance, and it releases spikes around you. That's it, it's very, very edgy, and fits the whole volcanic theme, which Wardenfell is all about. The ultimate, as I said, is the same as the front bar, so no change there. For our sets, we went with Dummy House. The reason we went with Dummy House is mainly because it summons a rocks and fire around you, and it looks quite pleasing, dealing also some damage over time. However, it also increases your weapon and spell damage. If you don't have access to the DLC itself to get the helmet, I can recommend you perhaps Hrothgar as the monster set, as it summons a circle of fire as well. If you don't like that one and want to go a little bit more to the reclamation Daedric Princess, you can go with Spawn of Mephala, summoning spider legs all around you, or you can even try Crag's monster set, and it summons those two big things on its back and looks quite pleasing. Other than that, just go wild, mate. Nothing too special there. For our second set, I mainly recommend this set for its name, because it's called the Necklace of... the set of the Red Mountain, or previously it was known as the Shadow of the Red Mountain. When you deal damage with a weapon, you spawn a volcano that erupts after 1 second, launching liquid hot lava at the closest enemy. It is a stamina set dealing flame damage. However, since we are a dark elf, that fire damage kind of gets a little bit higher than any other race. And the aesthetics are very pleasing. It gives us some weapon damage, maximum stamina, some critical chance, nothing too special. The only reason we are using this is the visuals, and the visuals only. We don't care about the stats, it's all about the experience and the fun we can have, if you have fun playing as a Ashlander. For the second set, I went with Ashen Grip. The reason why I went with this set is two of them. First of all, the name Ash, and the second reason is when you deal martial melee damage, you breathe fire to all enemies in front of you, dealing a certain amount of fire damage, which can only occur every 4 seconds. You can literally proc all three of these sets just by doing one light or heavy attack. I usually just do one heavy attack because of the skill on our back bar, and yeah, it melts people, if that's your thing. However, if you don't like it, you can always try something else. Both of these sets are very easy to obtain. This one you can get from Stonefalls. I'm using blue jewelry, just so you know, because we really don't care about min-maxing. You can get this one from Stonefalls, from Dolmens, from Dungeons, Delves, whatever. It's like basically a drop set, so you can buy cheaply from guild traders as well. Some weapons are very cheap to get these days. Ashen Grip is a crafted set. It only requires 2 traits, so going with that isn't a bad idea at all. However, if you don't want this one and go a little bit further but still want to keep the fire aesthetics, you could go with Sunder Flame, which is a niche set, but I don't like it. I don't want to use it on Ashlander because it is a City of Ash dungeon, and the set itself is more Dagon focused rather than the reclamations. However, it deals flame damage and implies a minor breach to the enemy, reducing their physical and spell resistance. So if you want to go with this set, go for it, go wild. There's a lot of alternatives. However, you can go, maybe if you don't want any effects, you can just go with Hunting's Rage and so a little bit of weapon and spell damage. Maybe you want a new moon set. It's a 9 trait crafted set, increases your weapon and spell damage, but increases the cost of your active abilities by 5%. That is, if you don't want to use any of the abilities from the class and going with normal weapons, you can go with this set really easily. There's a lot of sets you can just get pure stats without anything special. However, I want to go with a little bit of visuals on this one, so that's the reason why I'm going with this one. For our CP, under the craft skill line, I went with Rationer, Liquid Efficiency, Treasure Hunter, and Steed's Blessing. There is literally nothing I can recommend you here. Everything is purely subjective. I like a little speed while running around. I like not using all of my potions when I drink them, and I like the bonus duration of my food. So this is actually one recommended. Under Warfare, as I said, Riving Blows, the only one I actually care about. Everything else purely subjective. Honestly, go wild. I went with Thaumaturge, a little bit of Master at Arms, Biting Aura, put my points into everything I could put. And Flawless Ritual, I went with War Mage here, affects magic, which we only focus this one for the flame damage which we deal, so I can actually recommend this perk with the combination of Mighty Battle Mastery. However, if you don't have that many skills, you can just go with Mighty or just ignore it in itself. As for the fitness skill line, health, armor, stamina and magicka back per kill. Everything else purely subjective. I just put points into everything that I could. However, the only focus, if I had lower CP, I would probably go first for Bloody Renewal, then maybe add a little bit for health, a little bit for armor, and a little bit for siphoning the spells for the extra magicka, because we are using a couple of magicka abilities, so the magicka is really nice there. However, if you don't want this one, you can always go with your regeneration, giving you a little bit more sustain. It's not a big amount, it's really not, but you can always play around and see what you see fit. Alright, for our fashion, we are going Ashlander on everything, literally except the belt. I don't own the belt, I'm too lazy to find it, so apologies on that. So it doesn't appear anywhere, and I'm using Silken Ring currently, but doesn't make a difference really. Anything you can wear. The weapons are Ashlander as well as the bow itself. I went with the heavy version of everything, but you can go light, medium, or whatever you want. I went with the axes. For the colors, I'm using Ashlander Grey, Sigils Orange for that little tint to actually push towards the Dragonknight, and Cold Arbor Ash Black because I like the black aesthetics. However, you can color it however you want or use any pieces you like. Maybe you like the light helmet or whatever. If you want any alternatives, ESO at one time offered some costumes. This is the costume I own. It looks pretty nice, and you can go with this one if you prefer it. However, I will be using the outfit as it is really cheap to get. It's really easy. You can get it from doing dailies at this one location. In Vvardenfell, you do have to own Vvardenfell, but many newer players can get it just, having it. At Alvarune's place, at the Giant Crab, doing the dailies has a chance to drop you basically the motifs if you want to farm them, but they're really cheap to get. I can recommend maybe some other alternatives, however, everything else would just ruin the whole aesthetics or the build. You can try out maybe other Morrowind looking gear. For example, the Morag Tong has those chitin pieces, and it can actually fit a Ashlander fashion as well. You can try out, I don't know, maybe Halalu or Redoran or Telvanni. However, I recommend these styles to actually go with the theme itself. For example, if you're going with the Telvanni Mage, going with the Telvanni style would be most decent. If you want to go with a Redoran, just go Redoran or Halalu for Halalu. Boyand Armiger, I think that's how they pronounce it. It basically looks like a predator from, well, the movie Predator, with these spikes on its mouth and stuff. Militant Ordinator is too fancy for our Ashlander boy. So if I can recommend, or if I have to recommend some alternatives, maybe the barbaric style going, but that's more barbaric than it is Ashlander. You can try to mix out some pieces, maybe going with the chitinous chest piece for some pieces, having this aesthetics that can make it look very wild. I actually like this chest piece, not gonna lie. Not gonna lie, it looks quite decent. However, in the end, it's all up to you whether you want to go with the scale color fashion or the Morag Tong fashion, or whether you want to go with the Ashlander fashion. But as I mentioned, the Ashlander fashion is really easy and cheap to get, so go wild. You can always go with the costumes, and there is this one helmet that I do not own, but it is a Ashlander looking gas mask. Really looks nice. However, Crowhead, if you own it, I mean, it looks more witch than anything. Yeah, Netch Handler Cap. This one is a meme helmet, but it can look nice. I'm using for the personality, I'm using Deadlands Firewalker. It looks pretty badass. However, you can go whatever personality you have or want. For body markings, I'm going with Chittering Charas. Basically looks like this. It's just a nice pattern all over the place, nothing too over the top. You can play around, see what fits. Perhaps you want the Boja and Dormigan body tattoos or whatever. Really subjective stuff. For the mount, I'm using the Nyx Ox Warsteed. I got it for owning Morrowind. With the celebration, there was this one event, I believe. I really can't remember. I just had it one day in my inventory. But if you don't have one, I would actually recommend one of these bipedals, maybe a Gar, you know, Deadlands, a banded or glowing one. However, the glowing ones I recommend on Argonia rather than Dark Elf. But in the end, you can just go with a horse or honestly whatever fits you. For the pet, I'm using a Nyx Ox Hound. However, getting a pet in ESO is really easy, so you can go whatever the heck you want. If you want a Cliff Racer, go with a Cliff Racer. If you want something, another Gar, maybe riding a Gwar and having a Gwar pet, you can go with that as well. A horse I don't actually recommend, because technically the Ashlanders view a horse as a source of meat, so unofficial lore there, thank you very much. So yeah, anyways, that's it basically for the fashion. Maybe I forgot to mention the headpiece. I think it was skull chaplet. You can play around, see what you see fitting. Find your own style. It is a very simple build, simple fashion, simple mount with a fun playstyle and a lot of lava around it. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching.